Namaste. We live in times where it is believed if you are not successful, you cannot be happy. Can, however, the opposite of be true? Can one genuinely lead a happy life without any success? Is success a natural goal for every individual? To discuss this topic, we have with us today Mr. Himanshu Vaidya, and the title of the topic is Success is Not for You, Enjoy. Namaste, sir.
Namaste.
Sir, how do you define success?
Human beings have two basic psychological traits, survival and pleasure. And the way human beings seek pleasure is in a unique way. The human mind essentially has three characteristics. One, it is species oriented. So most of the times I will be thinking about other human beings and myself. I will not be thinking about uh, the some comet, some planet, or some monkey or some lion. So the first characteristic of our mind is that we are very species oriented. The second characteristic of our mind is we are very relational. Our psychology is a very social psychology. So we always think in relation to others. The third is we are very comparative kind of creatures, very comparison driven creatures. So we keep comparing ourselves to others. Now, when we try to look at maximization of survival and pleasure by a mind which has these three characteristics, we get into a situation where maximization of pleasure, by which we mean getting into the top 10% of the social population in economic power or fame terms, that is the typical definition of success. This definition of success essentially is based upon three variables: money, power, and fame. And this success definition itself comes out of Abrahamical thinking, from which uh, the concept of economic man also has come out. So essentially, we are looking in terms of success getting defined in economic terms, and that in turn is a very utilitarian idea. It is a very society created idea so that all people imbibe it and they keep running and doing work for the sake of social progress. This actually is extension of the singular thinking of the Abrahamical approach. Therefore, the success here is actually an opposite of poverty, but poverty defined in very narrow terms of economy, power, and fame. So we are not talking here of intellectual poverty, artistic poverty, ethical poverty, or spiritual poverty. Poverty, in fact, can happen at various levels. And unless an individual removes poverty at all levels, he cannot live an enriched life. However, the definition normally we take of success is in terms of money, power, and fame. And the rule of thumb is if you are not in top 10% of society on these three parameters, you are not successful.
You mean to say we are with our blinkers on, all you can think is in terms of economics,
Yes, and this is a recent
in terms
phenomenon.
of money. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is a recent phenomena because in ancient India and many of the other ancient cultures, this was not the case. This Abrahamical thinking is a much later phenomena in human history.
Okay. So it has always been believed that if you have to be happy, you have to be successful. So is this always true?
This is one of the myths so well marketed by society and so entrenched in recent times that if anyone is happy without being successful, that person starts doubting himself and he starts developing doubt, guilt, and shame that how can he be happy without being successful? It is theater of the absurd in full play, where the perverted believe they are healthy and the healthy ones doubt why they are healthy. So it is not only possible to be happy without being successful. In fact, happiness does not have to do anything with the classical definition of success that we have. The classical understanding today is that if you don't get into top 10% or top 25% of society in terms of money, power, and fame, you cannot be happy. That is a very perverted definition of happiness. Unfortunately, it is entrenched in society and people are being driven by it. They don't even know that they have started believing in it. It's an unconscious belief. It's a social indoctrination. And people are driven by it and they are blindly working day and night, doing all sorts of right and wrong things, driven by these goals. However, in recent times, as people have started thinking about new parameters of progress, so apart from GDP, now people talk about HDP, the happiness development happiness development product or the happiness index across the world. People realize that the two are very divergent. Countries with higher rates of GDP are not necessarily happy countries. So the same country on GDP scores very high and the same country on HDP scores very low. And very surprisingly, some of the countries which are in the bottom 25 of the world in terms of economics are one of the very happy countries. And some of the very prosperous countries in the world have absolutely high rates of unhappiness and very high rates of suicide. So the two actually are divergent. Happiness and success are not synonyms of each other as it is marketed in society, but in fact they are two different things. It is not only possible to be happy without being successful in the classical sense of the term. In fact, crores of people across the world are happy without being successful. It is not a proposition, it's a fact. And the same is true in the reverse also. Many people who are successful in terms of becoming a CEO or in terms of becoming wealthy or powerful are not essentially happy. If you ask their personal therapist or their counselor, you will actually realize that they have a lot of misery in their lives despite being successful.
Yeah, and then they blame it is always lonely on the top, at the
Yeah.
top. So, well, you have given a very proactive title to this talk, success is not for you, enjoy. So, does it mean do you mean by enjoyment of doing nothing?
Yeah, this is where I have to qualify today's discussion. When I say success is not for you, enjoy, I am not saying this to people who are good for nothing. I am not saying this to people who are lazy and you don't want to work. I am not saying this to people who are full of negativity and who are so pessimistic that they won't do anything. Or people who are so envious that they cannot be part of doing anything good or seeing anything good happen. Today's discussion is not for them. Today's discussion is for a specific group of people who are talented, very motivated, they try very hard, but they are not able to be successful. And that is so because of destiny. And this has an element of purpose of life that they are not successful because it is not their destiny to be successful. And therefore, the earlier they recognize this fact and start enjoying their life apart from being successful, dealing their happiness from success, understand the difference between the two, understand the role of destiny and the purpose of life, understand the fact that they are meant to live a life very different from the standardized corporate life. So it is for those people that this discussion is there, because when they don't have the understanding that we are trying to give today, they land up in large amount of suffering and frustration, and often they do something which may be harmful to themselves or to others, and they don't utilize their potential for the good things in this world for which they are actually meant. And this group needs a complete U-turn in their approach to life, in terms of the way they look at life, the goals of life, happiness, the role of destiny, and the purpose of life. It is for this select group of people that today's discussion is meaningful.
So is not being successful a destiny for some people?
Yes, it is. And this is quite controversial to say,
Huh.
because many people don't even believe in the concept of destiny. They believe life is like a fair video game where you put in talent and hard work and automatically success comes. It is like a determinism of input and output. You put in motivation, sincerity, hard work, and creativity and talent, and output in terms of success comes. Unfortunately, we realize that this is not the way things work. The world in which we live is not this kind of a rational system. The world in which we live uh, is a system where suprahuman forces are present in determining human affairs. Not completely, but definitely partly. And more in case of some people and less in case of others. This therefore brings us to the concept of destiny, that there are two elements at work apart from our will. And that is, one is destiny, which has actually two parts. We use the word destiny in a liberal way, but if you deconstruct it, it has two parts. One is the karmic element, and second is the journey of the life, the journey of the soul, or journey of the self, whatever you call it. So there is an element of karmic thing which has to be settled, and there is another force where you have certain experiences to be had in this life, and those experiences may be many, not one, and therefore you may not be able to pass 20 years in one profession and gradually climb up the ladder. You may be in a situation where you put 3 years in one profession, and then something happens and you're put into another profession, and then something happens into a third profession. So this being the case, destiny therefore plays a part there, where it is not only something which is in the books, you can see it operating in life, and the group to whom I am addressing this talk would very well realize what I am saying, because for them it is not a proposition, it is their actual living experience.
So then there is a high price to pay for the group, for this group of people, if they don't realize their this force of destiny, right?
Very true. And we can divide this group that I am referring to into two parts.
Mm-hmm.
One, those who are into jobs and
Hmm.
think about getting into entrepreneurship, and they feel they have everything necessary for entrepreneurship, but every time they try, they fail. And they come back to the job and again they fail. For them, the best way out is to stop doing this entrepreneurial stuff and focus on the job and explore inside what else they have to do other than the job. They may have a destiny where either they have to do something in the intellectual area, artistic area, or spiritual area, or social area, and the job has to be only a support system for that. Now, because they don't realize this destiny, they put in all the efforts to become entrepreneurial, try all that they can, and they fail. And every time it is a very tragic affair of disappointment, pain, frustration, anger towards oneself, not to mention the loss of resources which they have to repay. Often they go in debt. So there is intense amount of suffering because they don't realize it. And the rule of thumb there is this: if you fail one time and you give it up, it may be lack of persistence. But if you fail 5 times and still refuse to give it up, it is not lack of persistence, it is destiny. And there, another factor comes in: learning from experience. So just as persistence is important, learning from experience also is important. Giving up too early is wrong, and not giving up after repeated failures also is wrong. So this is one group which is into jobs, trying into entrepreneurship and coming out. There is a second group which could never go into the job market or the business market. People who were talented, who got educated very well, had very good skills, but because of social or because of destiny factors, they could never get into job or business. Now, you can divide this group into two. One that never got an opportunity goes into business and succeeds. And second, who never was meant to go into business. And this group, when it goes and it fails and comes back, they unnecessarily blame themselves and try again in order to lose even more money and time and energy. So this group has to very soon realize that it may be hand of destiny, and maybe we are not destined to go on that path of business success. And the third group is the group which is born in business families with entrepreneurship. And this is where the real frustration comes, because this group has a family tradition of business success, and they have the pressure of legacy, that because my father did something great, I have to match up some way. But the destiny of this new individual is not to go into business and succeed, but to do something else, something in the intellectual, spiritual, or social area. But this individual, under the pressure of the legacy, pressure of society, all that he has internalized, keeps trying again and again some entrepreneurial venture or the other and keeps losing money every time. He does not realize that this loss is not only because of his imperfection, which may be small part of it, but the larger reason is destiny. He is not destined to success. He is actually destined to do something else, live life in a different format, and not go into the homogeneous monolithic path of corporate success. The difficulty today is, if any person is not able to fit into the corporate culture for a job, or if any person is not able to do any business, people don't accept it as a part of diversity and uniqueness. People feel something is wrong with them, as though nature was producing all of us for the sake of corporates. So it is completely a misreading of the human situation. If you are not able to be congruent in a corporate culture, there's nothing wrong with it. If you are not able to do business, there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
So instead of respecting yourself and your uniqueness and diversity, people start finding faults as though that was the gold standard and one has to be congruent to it.
True. So once they realize that success is not for them, how does enjoyment come into their lives?
Uh, the moment this group realizes that there is an element of destiny, and they are not meant to be successful in the ordinary sense of the term. The first good part that happens is the wasteful expenditure of time, energy, and money stops, which otherwise they keep putting into. It's almost like throwing something into a well.
Yes, and even the torture that they
In the
undergo
torture.
dealing with this.
Yeah, not to mention the criticism by others
Yes.
around for
Hmm.
all these
Hmm.
losses and the shame that it brings. Secondly, they start for the first time to undertake an inner journey to find out what is their authentic nature, what are their real desires. Because these desires to become a CEO by the time you are 45, or go on a foreign vacation, or to have a house in some fancy location, these are all society given desires you have absorbed, but they are not the authentic inner desires of your own. So that discovery, that inner journey is completely pending for most people today. So they are living only on the surface, on the basis of the socially uh, accepted, the socially absorbed desires. Whereas the inner journey to find out what authentically you are and what you want, that starts. And many people in that process realize what they really like, and they are able to throw off the baggage of this value and this belief that you must succeed in the corporate area or you must do something entrepreneurial. And once you are able to say goodbye to this baggage, you are able to really find out what you really want. And with that, a completely new journey starts. People who have undertaken this journey, they have changed their professions completely. You can see that in many of the spiritual groups, Osho Commune, Auroville, Sri Aurobindo Ashram, where somebody was forced to become a doctor because there is more money. But when he realizes this is not for him, he finds he is better off as a musician. Or some people who were into teaching, or they find themselves much better off working in industry. So this authentic search of what one authentically is, the inner search, that starts. The third part is often they realize, this group that I am referring to, that they may have a goal which is not one profession, but a blend of 3 or 4 professions together done part-time. So they may like to work 2 or 3 days a week in a non-profit, 2 or 3 days a week in some profession that they like, or maybe they do very small kind of business just to survive. And they are able to do far more intellectual, artistic, spiritual, or social work. So the quality of life undergoes a radical transformation. The clarity on life undergoes radical transformation. The happiness and the fulfillment they feel increases manifold, and most of the times they end up doing something very good for society.
So, a very important question that comes to my mind: can psychotherapy and spirituality help such people, in living a very fulfilling life and help them in personal evolution as well?
Yes, because both of them, through different methods, psychotherapy or spirituality, one of the things both of them do in common is to help the person undertake an inner journey of self-knowing and self-transformation. And one important element of this inner journey is to find out one's authentic desires and one's authentic self. And therefore, any person who has had repeated failures, despite being sincere and talented, if he goes to spirituality or psychotherapy and undertakes an inner journey, he is helped very much, because the inner journey and finding what one authentically likes and developing the confidence to say no to the popular belief and the popular myth of success. Both of these journeys, they require support from some other person. So the therapist or the guru helps us to be clear about things, to develop confidence to say no to a popular belief in society, to live a lifestyle which is very different from others, because others may criticize you for living a very different lifestyle. They may call it an acceptance of defeat. But you have to be confident that although in minority, you are on the right track. And then to go inside and find out what one really wants, free from the pressure of society and free from pressure of people around you. Because these two are the pressures. Apart, there are three things that would allow us to find ourselves. The first is our own internalized ideals, which don't allow parts of us to come up which are not in congruence with those ideals. Second is people around us who put pressure on believing certain things or doing some things, or criticize us, or we fear they will criticize us, or they will leave us. So pressure of people around us, mostly family members. And third is, in general, people in society. These three forces are the forces which work against the search for authenticity. And in this search, we require the help of the other intellectually and to give us assurance, approval, and confidence. Both spirituality and psychotherapy, therefore, have very specialized tools, a specialized way of helping people in this journey to find one's authentic self and create an idea of a good life where they can be happy, even if that idea of a good life says goodbye to the classical notion of success.
And such people can even come together, form a group, create a social circle. So, how does that work?
In fact, such groups already exist uh,
Okay.
without those group members having thoroughly thought it out. So in many cities, you have groups where people who are talented but not successful come together and they talk, they discuss, they also try to live together at times. However, they all carry some sort of defeat, inferiority, guilt, and shame for not having been successful. If you put this discussion to them and they deeply and thoroughly think about it, that defeat, that inferiority, guilt, and shame, and the anger towards oneself and anger towards the world at large, that goes away. And with a very peaceful and positive mind, knowing fully well that everyone is not destined to be successful on that narrow classical definition of success, and life is much wider than the utilitarian goals industrial revolution has set for us. Once they understand this, they can live a very happy and contented lives, because they would be knowing that what they are doing is something very authentic and natural. The congruence to industrial revolution, in fact, is not natural. The natural thing is to have a diversity of people with diversity of goals and aptitudes. This group, therefore, if they know what we are discussing and they think more about it, and they are able to see the non-universality of the relevance of the classical definition of success, they will be far more at peace, far more happy and fulfilled. These groups can also actually create special interest groups, societies, or if they have common spiritual interests, they can also create spiritual communes. I think we do find already this kind of arrangements in spiritual communes, be it Osho Ashram, Krishnamurti Foundation, or Auroville.
Auroville, yeah. as they say, it takes different kind of people to make this world.
Right.
Right. So we have discussed today a totally controversial topic, but the idea was to open our minds and be, open to the suggestion that success is not for you. And even after that, you can enjoy. Thank you for listening, and you can write to us at hvindia@gmail.com. And thank you, Mr. Vaidya, for your
Yeah.
insight and your inputs.
Sure.
Thank you. Namaste.
Namaste.